my God, the sky is falling. We're all going to die. Well, yeah, it's called rain. It helps water the flowers, plants, so we can have, food to eat. It makes things, grow. And yeah, we're all going to die. It's natural. Nobody gets out alive. So those are true statements, but we don't have to fear. Hey, hey, human. Coach Nate here with another mindful focus to share with you. I'm sure you probably have heard the cliches of acronyms for fear, false evidence appearing real, um, forget everything and run, face everything and rise, and those are nice. But how do we break those down into dealing with fear? Because fear can be very real to us. It is because fear is an emotion, and we have emotions. We can deny them, suppress them, ignore them. That doesn't mean they don't exist in us, or that doesn't mean we don't feel them because we do. Fear can help in certain instances where we need that adrenaline kick, rush, push to cause us to react and respond, to survive in the situation. Persistent fear can harm if it's always there, if it's repeated, if it's constant, if it's unnecessary. Right? We aren't meant to be going 100 miles an hour in that high state of adrenaline all the time. That's going to have some very negative effects on us. So we understand fear is an emotion. We understand that emotions are responses to thoughts. As Dr. Caroline Leaf put in her book, "Who Switched Off My Brain," first we have a thought, we then develop an emotion around that thought, and then that turns into an action or a behavior. So we can create thoughts. As I said in my last video, there's lots of them that come into our minds, in our head. Some of those consciously, some subconsciously, but those are reoccurring. When we develop emotions around those thoughts is where we can get into trouble, the ones that don't serve us. Understand this. Courage is not necessarily fearlessness, right? Courage is a willingness to try, to face, to attempt, to go forward in spite of fear. That's courage. We don't need courage if there's not some type of resistance, mental or otherwise, that is in our path. That's just normal living, moving. It's when we encounter something that could be a barrier. So fear can become a habit. It is something that we can even get to the point where we're comfortable in that fear because that's what we know. It's the pain, it's the discomfort that we are familiar with, and therefore that's where I want to be because I'm familiar with that. I don't like it. It's not fun. It's uncomfortable. It's even painful, but I know that. And so that's where I'm going to exist because I don't know the other. As I said in my book, when the pain of the present becomes greater than our fear of the future, that's when real change begins to take place. Growth happens on the outside of where we are comfortable. We're not growing when we're here in the same repetitious cycle. Yes, and some growth comes through continuing practice, but you're stretching, you're doing something to increase your ability, your strength, your mental agility. But when we're just doing the same thing over and over and over again, and we're comfortable with that, not growing, stuck, rut. What is a rut? A grave with no ends. Fear is often triggered by something. It may be triggered by a thought. It may be triggered by an action, a behavior. It may be any number of things that cause that to rise up in us. We could just be sitting calmly in on the couch and boom, it happens. Our aim there is to understand, is this real or a threat? Did that noise we just heard come from the television or on the other side of our front door? That rabid animal, that sound that we're hearing, is it entertainment, or do I need to go protect myself? Very, very different. But with that, both can be perceived as real, actual threats. When we focus on, when we pay attention to acknowledge how self-aware we are around the fear, is it perceived or real? We then understand the role that confidence can play in dealing with that fear, on, again, whether it's a facade, something that we've perceived, or if it's something that we need to face, deal with, address, and move through. And to that end, how do we let go, live now, and when? We can start with identifying the what if monster. Fear is often a what if this happens, what if that happens, what if this doesn't happen, what if, what if, what if, what if, what if, what if. Play that scenario out, okay? And then, and then, and then, that might be, and when you play that scenario that you're afraid of, that is causing you fear, all the way out, you take away some of its power, sometimes all of its power, because it can't sit there and be the ugly boogly monster making you feel uncomfortable when you have, okay, and from the ashes and from the carnage, I will rebuild. And now you just rendered fear powerless. In other words, you didn't take me out. This may have suffered damage, but I'm still here, and I still can, and I still will. Very powerful determinant against fear. It can be evidentiary based. When you're playing the scenario out on the what if monster, okay, what proof do you have of? What evidence does there exist? Is this a maybe, kind of, sort of what if, or is there any? Because there are times I'm driving along a road and I see torrential rain, or I see a rock slide, and I'm thinking the road might be washed out. Yeah, that's pretty good evidence. But if it's, not something that concrete, then it may be just a fear of driving through the mountains up high in a little narrow road. Another very effective approach in dealing with fear and increasing your courage is to remind yourself of times, events in the past where you didn't think you were going to make it, where you were fearful, where it was really challenging, and yet here you are. Somehow you made it through that. It may not have been pretty, it may have been painful, it may have been very strenuous, or it may just have been something, this scenario that you can create in your mind, and none of it happened. And here we are, reminding ourselves of when we have overcome fear in the past. Gives us the fuel, the courage, the strength, ability, the resources to leverage to know that I'm going to get through this one. I'm going to be able to face this one. I will be able to move past this. I have what it takes. I did it then. I can do it again. Reminding yourself of that. Then you want to break things down into the smallest chunks. I've got a presentation. I'm nervous about it. Okay, what about that presentation makes you nervous? Putting it together? Oh, no, I got that. Okay. Getting the information? Okay, got that. 5 out of the 10 people in the room, they're fans. Okay, so it may be the bringing it down to the smallest chunk of what is it that's causing me helps you to build confidence in all the areas that you have to allow you then to face just that one, whatever the enemy that you've created in your mind that may exist, to address rather than lumping everything together. What is it about this that is causing you consternation, fear, upset? And then taking, as we move towards building our courage, we know that sustainable change is best accomplished through taking small baby steps. We take small steps to engage, face, address, deal with, and overcome our fear. We may take a few steps in, may fall back. The whole 2 steps forward, 1 back, it's okay. 1, 2 back, but still, a little bit in, a little bit more, a little bit more. If we try too much too fast, we're going to probably run into a brick wall, splat, and that's going to demotivate us and make us want to give up. So we can ease our way into it, little by little, and that takes down the bricks in the fear wall, and eventually they can literally dissipate into dust like it doesn't exist. Also allowing yourself to feel the emotion around it. When we're going through playing the scenario out, what emotions do I have that is associated with this? I'm going to feel those. I'm going to experience those. By going through the process, sometimes physically, mentally, by experiencing it, we're allowing ourselves then to process. And in processing, we then can release, as opposed to gather, carry. And now we've got this massive load that we're carrying around, and then we find ourselves running out of energy to even accomplish the smallest task because we've taken on so much. Experiencing it allows us to, there, release. We're lighter, and then we can continue to move forward. So we know that we take small steps and we practice, and we're going to trip and we're going to fall. But as long as you get up one more time than you fell down, you're winning, you're making progress, you're moving forward, you're facing it. One of the best ways to overcome our fears is to face it and overcome it. Because we realize that teaches us that we can. And once we know that we can, amazing things happen and occur. There's a priceless payoff that occurs from that process. And very importantly, is to celebrate every win regardless of its size. Sometimes making a to-do list and putting an easy item on there just to have that experience of a check. And now I'm going to be able to get to the more difficult things. Sometimes you're going into a very untenable, extraordinarily challenging situation. And it may not turn out as you hoped, but by having the courage to face and to walk into it and to try shows you that you've got that you've got the goods. And while it may not turn out this time, it may be the next or the one after, you tried. You put forth the effort. They say the only failure is in not trying. As long as you tried, again, you may get knocked down, but as long as you get up one more time, then you got knocked down. Celebrating every win helps build the momentum it's the foundation in which you build to be able to continue to grow and build your courage. Embracing your fears is a literal resource to help building your courage. Just sharing some insights with you. Feel free to try them or toss them. Both of those can be correct answers, but only you can make that determination as to which one for yourself. If you like this content, I would appreciate you giving it a like. Also, if you'd subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when I post additional content like this, and consider sharing this with someone who you feel could benefit from it. But above all, remember to let go, live now, and win.